Welcome back to the So Cute Runner series. This time it's for May. It's a basket and flowers. We all know Mother's Day is in May. Purple is such a great color, especially those plums, those shades that go in and out of that kind of basic purple we think of, so it's much more sophisticated and beautiful. So I really love this one. And we're gonna dive straight into it. We all know that kits are the way to go because you're gonna get all the fabrics you see, all the laser cut shapes, not only because of the cute flowers being laser cut, prefused laser cut, but also the handles. You already know this, right? You get your backing, your binding, the pattern, everything, and a tutorial. Let's kick this off and show you how to make this super beginner friendly. A little more steps in this one because of the patchwork is a little bit more involved with the basket, but follow these steps and you're gonna just nail it. I'll take you right through this process. Our first step actually begins with our background fabric for our handle. And of course, we're making 2 of the blocks. So this process, I'm showing you 1 block, but you're going to be doing that times 2. We already know that. So in order to have our handle positioned just so on our fabric here, our pattern will guide you into cutting your square and cutting it on the diagonal. So you have 2 of these. But the easiest way to make sure that you absolutely have that nicely centered, we always like that nicely centered, is to give the fabric a finger press as well as your handle that you already know is prefused and laser cut. Has a little more stability. In fact, let me go ahead and remove that paper. Let's just remove that real quick because we want to be able to iron it down. So I like to give a good press to find that exact middle point. And then you're just lining up those presses, right? That helps you know you're in that perfect spot. Okay, and that's going to be just like we're showing right here. We open that up. You can see my finger press. You can see my finger press here. And I just simply line up that press and that press until the bottom handles reach that. So you can see that's going to be sewn into the seam allowance, so you don't need to compensate for that. Take it all the way to the edge, just like we're showing you here, and simply press that down with a nice medium heat iron. You'll be using a medium heat iron anytime you're using fusible webbing. It just does not love that linen super hot setting that we use for patchwork. You would repeat that, of course, for your upper portion of your other block, and we did go ahead and stitch that down. Notice the beautiful thread set. This is the color I would be using here for that. You could use a cream if you wanted to, depends on, you know, your comfort level, but I really love the thread set in this particular one. Go ahead and put that aside, and we're going to continue on with our basket. Notice how we have here a half square triangle. So we like to always give you instructions to oversize your half square triangle, giving you the wonderful opportunity to square up. That's how we have our best blocks, right? You don't have to nail that perfect half square triangle. So this is a little bit upsized. So the first thing we'd like to do is on the back side of the light colored fabric, you either draw a line corner to corner. Let me just take you through that step in our pattern here. You can either draw the line corner to corner and you'll end up sewing on either side of that. My favorite though is just use the Creative Grid seam guide because you've heard me say it 1,000 times. I'm way more accurate sewing on a drawn line, aren't we all though? I don't think that's unique to me. I think we're all way more accurate and more relaxed when we can just sew on a drawn line. We're not having to find that 1/4 inch track to the left and to the right of the drawn line as shown here. And that is what the pattern is showing. And the reason we do show you that is we never want to require you to have to use this ruler, buy this ruler. This is an option. So we always show you the most basic way in the pattern, but we always like to also tell you how we really do it here in the sewing room. And this isn't just for video, we do it this way up in the sewing room and even at home. All right, place these right side together, stacking them beautifully one on top of the other. As you can see, our fabrics were perfectly cut. I kind of skipped over that. Anytime you're doing precise patchwork, you already know. Add sizing, press out the fabric, get a nice blade in the rotary cutter and make clean cuts. That's such an important starting point. If you expect perfect results, you got to come into this with perfect cuts, right? You can't expect a perfect block with subpar cuts. It's all throughout. It's about precision cutting, piecing, pressing, and just, you know, that whole sequence. Okay, so let's pretend that we've sewn on that, and we did our magic sewing here. And the next thing that we like to do here is sew, or actually cut, on that diagonal. Now remember I said that this was oversized. So the first thing that we'll be doing is, notice our pattern is guiding us to pressing both of those to the dark, beautiful purple color. So let's go ahead and do that step first. And these will be squared up to a 3 by 3. I'm going to show you kind of the sweet spot on the Creative Grid 4.5 by 8.5 inch ruler. This ruler plays a really cool part in this entire block. Sometimes this ruler I just used for subcutting, but this time there's some markings on this ruler that are going to be really helpful in this block. You know, in my beginning quilting days, I had one ruler. And that's before I even knew about Creative Grid. It was a 6 by 24. And I had one ruler. That was it. There was nothing else. So every little cut I ever did, even like small 3-inch squares, was made with a big ruler. So if it's been a bit since you've invested in some rulers, I'd recommend you go ahead and do that. So as I said, we're going to square this up to 3 by 3. This is what I love about this corner in particular of this ruler. Notice how these are all whole numbers. If I rotate this ruler around, notice the black dots are in fractions thereof. 1/2, 1.5, 2.5, right? So besides the incredible grip, the intelligence behind Creative Grid is unmatched by any ruler company in the world. That's a bold statement, and I'm going to make that statement. I've seen all of them. But do you see how we have these numbers here? But you also see this line. Look how this is absolutely the perfect tool. And our goal is to trim up something around all 4 sides. So check how we're going to do this. I'm in this corner of the ruler because I can see my 3 and I can see my 3. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to slide up like that. See that diagonal white line? So I'm just squeezing into that corner, so my 3 is a little bit off of the edge, giving me the chance to square up just a little bit everywhere, and that white line is right on the seam. Awesome. So now I'm going to press down, I'm going to trim, rotate my mat. So I'm going to rotate again, so we know, keep track of this, these 2 sides have been trimmed. These 2 sides have not, because they're under the ruler, can't trim it. Watch how I rotate the ruler and take advantage again of the markings. But remember, this time, when I rotate this 180 degrees, I'm going to set that line, that 3, and this 3 exactly on, I'm going to put that more so you can see what I'm doing. So there's my first 3, there's my other 3, and there's that beautiful white line going right up that seam. What have I done by doing this? I've exposed the other 2 sides of this fabric so it can be perfectly trimmed up. This is where so much of what I did not realize how important rulers are to precision. I just thought they were for those main cuts, really. And I thought it was always just about the 1/4 inch seam allowance. It really is all of it together. And that's why we wanted to do this series, so we get to take a deeper dive into some patchwork tips. And you know what, when you adopt these very easy to learn things, everything is just going to click together. You're going to be amazed at how your blocks are coming out more accurate than they ever have. More accurate than, that's our goal. Okay, and you would trim up the other one. You get the idea. There is no ruler out in the world that's 3-inch square. They just don't exist. Most rulers are going to be 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, because that's finishing at 3, 4, and 5, right? So that's how you can use a bigger ruler to get what you want with absolute precision. You're not guessing. All right, hopefully I've convinced you that Creative Grid rulers are worth their cost. They are just an investment in precise quilting. They are. So I love how Creative Grid puts so much thought into their rulers. All right, now that we have so very carefully cut this, let's look at where we are right now. This is currently where we are. So let's just orient our block so it looks just like that. And we have right here, this is our square. So we have this right here, 1/4 inch here, right? You already sewn that, and we're going to press away. So let's do that now. Now we've got some bias here, right? Anytime we have these diagonal cuts, you know there's bias. So I'm not doing this. I'm not ironing my shirt to go flying or to go to whatever. I am pressing, right? It's different. Pressing is different than ironing. You sometimes see me let go of the iron. That's why. I have ironed my shirts to go flying for 30 years. I always ironed my shirt the night before, always. So I showed up to the airport with a beautiful uniform, right? Flying public deserves to be confident in their pilots. They look good, they perform well. I just have the habit of doing this, so I let go. So that's why I end up doing that. You don't have to do that if you don't have the habit of doing this. All right, trim the dog ears. We've noticed this before, and Tammy left me a note here to remind us this little bit of fabric here that's extra. Trim that away. It's not going to do us any good right now. So here's where we are right now. So I want to take it here, and I've trimmed it away. In fact, I'm going to make sure that, I see that hasn't been trimmed away in this picture or right here. So now you know, hey, you've watched this video. These are some of the tips and techniques that you get that aren't in the pattern. All right, for our next fabric here, we're placing this fabric here, 1/4 inch seam, and then this will be pressed to the outside. I'll show you what that looks like. Here, pressed to the outside. So you can already see this portion of our basket is quickly coming together. Got stickers on me here. So this is where we are now. Let me put this aside. Let me get that out of your way. So we're not focused on anything but what we're working at right now. All right. So we could trim this away. It always feels good to me to just do it. It doesn't matter because we're going to actually trim it away in the next step. But this is where this ruler, again, is so incredible. All right. This is oversized, so look what we're able to do. I'm going to kind of put this so we're all looking at the same thing. See this right here? Hopefully you can see that from above. That's what we're showing you right here on this ruler. That's what I also love about Creative Grid. They have this X right there. So what that does for us, I'm going to orient this exactly just like this so you can see this. I'm going to place this right there. Look what this has done. I'm framing this square right there. That line is going right along that seam allowance. Notice that dash line, that X, is right at the top. What do you think that dash line might be? Our 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is as little as we're trimming. If you're trimming more than that, stop. Readjust your ruler, re-look at that ruler. These are all the places you're looking at right now, right there. And now I'm going to make a trim. Just like that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, now let's pretend here is where we would place this right side together very carefully, sew and press to the outside. So let's see if we have one of those already done. I think we did do that. And we're going to press toward the handle. That makes sense, right? Watch how this, when I open this, you'll see how this just wants to go there. It wants to go this direction. Why? Because of this union right here. Go ahead and we're going to go with that. That's a great idea. We agree. Press toward the handle. Boy, that ruler there, that 4.5 by 8.5 is the MVP of this quilt block. Incredible. Okay. So we'll let that press, and now let's look at what we have coming up next. So this is where we are. I just like to trim the dog ears away. They bug me. I'm going to trim those away. Okay, for our next step, let's look at our block here. So we know we have this upper portion, so of course we need to be building our left and our right portion, and then finally in the corner. So makes sense, right? We have a long rectangle, a square, simply placing them right side together, pressing that downward. So we have that on our left side, and right side together. I love how everything fits so beautifully. And we're just press that to the outside. Okay, so we have that portion of the block. Now for the right side, notice this is surprisingly a lot longer piece, right? It kind of has to reach this distance. So it seemed awkward to me at first. In fact, when I saw that, I was thinking, did we make a miscut? Did we make an error in our pattern? No, we did not. It just has to run a longer distance. So we right side together, press like that. And then, of course, here, press away from the center till we have this. Now we're at this stage. Okay, now we're going to do something right here in this corner. We're going to draw a line corner to corner on the back side of the fabric. Actually, I misdrew that. Let me do that again. We want to be right diagonal to diagonal. Very important here on this. Because we want to make sure we're hitting right in that corner. We're not too shallow, not too deep. We want to have that nice point there. So I'm exactly corner to corner. Now, placing this right in this corner, the first thing I'm actually going to check, if I fold this fabric exactly in half, right, and I look, did I hit that corner? And I did. Just make sure that fabric is well secured in the corner so it doesn't scoot back, scoot forward, or get cattywampus. So this is how we've pinned ours right here. We pinned it, so nothing was rotating. And so directly on that line. And that, but we confirmed once it was pinned here. And again, we're kind of simulating it hit right there beautifully. Okay, because we want to have that nice point. Once we have that, before you cut anything, I want you to press it and have a look. Do you have this nice point right there? If you do, you're good to go. Your next step would be to trim the excess. Let's repress to the outside. And look how beautiful that basket is. Isn't that darling? It's just so beautiful. And of course now you'll need to add your side borders, outer borders. That's easy peasy. You're like, oh, if I've survived that patchwork, adding borders is no problem, which is so true. Of course, you're going to be pinning those, pressing to the outside, and adding your top and bottom borders as well, and making 2 of these beautiful basket blocks. This is a lot of fun doing the applique. So in fact, I will clean up for just a bit. I've got a lot of things on the table. Let's move on to the applique. We actually get to use the Applifuse mat today because we have some overlapping shapes. I'm excited to show you the magic of this incredible tool by the Gypsy Quilter. So the applique is one of my favorite things to do. I love the combination of patchwork and applique. I just reduced my heat to medium. So anytime you have overlapping applique, I love to use an Applifuse mat. Why not do that? What does that mean? It means that all the shapes can be placed together, heated together, merged as one, removed from the Applifuse mat, and then placed on the background as a completed unit. Because as we see here, we have 5 different flowers. We have 2 leaves, the flower and the center, so we have 4 times 5, 20 shapes. I am not bringing these to the background in 20 different layers, not happening. Here's how we do this. Here's the sequence. I'm working with the Wafer 1 light pad, has 3 different light settings. So the sequence is the light source, your diagram. You can ignore reverse for tracing. Your kit's prefused laser cut. You're just going to be using the applique diagram here. The number 1 means that's the piece that's going down first, followed by 2, the flower, and then the center. Makes sense. That's the sequence. Dashed lines just mean that portion of the shape lays behind the other. That makes sense. This portion of the leaf is laying behind the flower. You're not seeing that from the surface. It's just a juxtaposition. Helps you sequencing. Okay, I like to store my Applifuse mat. What these are called the slap and wrap peels. I want to keep this, it has a mind of its own. It tends to unroll by itself like you're seeing here. I like to keep it rolled up because there's a tackiness to this that you're going to see here. Now, I'm going to place this on here, and as you can see from the above camera, it starts to obstruct our view. We have to have this. This is not negotiable. We have to have it. But sometimes what I do is just take a quick photo of my applique diagram, or sometimes we call it a layout diagram, just to have it to refer to. In this case, this is easy, right? We understand 2 leaves, the flower in the center. But sometimes when there's way more shapes, or the orientation isn't obvious and you really need to follow that specific numbering sequence, I just like to take a photo so I can see it. Okay, light pad, applique diagram. I'm going to turn it up just a touch so you can see this. Now, I've already done some of those, but let's do some of them together. I've already merged some of those, but I want to show you this incredible mat. The first thing that's incredible about this, well, number 1, let's talk about the laser shapes. Our team cuts 1 layer of fabric at a time. That's it. So time consuming. But this is why when you look at our laser cut shapes, they're not burnt. They don't smell like a forest fire. They're beautiful. 1 layer at a time on a low power setting means nothing's being burned. It's so time consuming. Our team is showing up before 5 in the morning and leaving at 6 o'clock at night to cut your kits so carefully. So they just do an incredible job. So shout out to the laser team. The Applifuse mat, notice how I'm pressing down on this. Look at this. This is a tackiness. There's a grip to this that is incredible. So I just want to point out this is another reason that I like to store my Applifuse mat rolled up so it's not getting dirty, lint, fabric fibers on it. I want this tackiness to be there every time I want to applique. Okay, now here comes down our flower. We place our flower, again placing that, and then I can see the outline of my center. I lift up the entire unit, take it to my mat. I let go, that's me, because I don't want to start doing ironing. I want to press for about 7 to 8 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark. What's happening right now is all these layers are merging together as all of those glues are activated. As this cools, they become one. The biggest mistake you're going to make is to start taking this thing off while it's warm. It will fall apart. Ask me how I know that, right? You can either fan that while you're waiting, or what we could be doing in the meantime is get our background fabric cut to this exact shape shown here. that'll be inside our pattern, what size you're cutting that to. We can get that all ready to go. As a reminder to remove the paper. I saw this, I was doing a demonstration in the showroom. People were struggling to remove the paper. Feel like you're being a little bit mean to the fabric, get along an edge right here and pinch it, just like that. Do you see how that released the paper immediately? You're not digging there with your nail. And it does not hurt the fabric. You can see the fabric is no problem. So don't worry that you're gonna hurt the fabric. So we'll place this on here so beautifully, so perfectly. Now we'll place these and over here as well. In fact, I'm going to iron that down first, and then we'll go do the flowers. I transport my applique often to the wool pressing mat, just a little bit of stability. Check everything one more time, make any final tweaks. Let go. Let's do that other side. Okay, we'll let that cool down. While that's cooling down, check this out. Easiest way to remove this, I just start rolling it. Look. One unit, done. 4 pieces are now one. The juxtaposition is perfect. I had the applique diagram, layout diagram, interchangeable. Those are the same word. The Applifuse mat's the magic. It's the magic, right? So once you're done with that, again, I like to roll it all up. These slap and wrap peels, by the way, if you do any kind of machine embroidery, when you're using a lot of those stabilizers that, again, just want to unroll, these are fantastic for keeping your things organized or not unrolling on you. So I think there's a lot of uses for that whole thing to happen here. All right, let's just do it this way. Put this back on here. And now we just get the joy, right, of referring to our pattern, laying everything out. Okay, let's put our flowers on just because I love doing it. Let's look here. This is where the thread set is so much fun. I was asked this question a lot. I was teaching applique in the showroom. This was one of the most frequent asked questions besides the sequencing of light source diagram and the Applifuse mat. But the question was, once we iron these down, should they stitch them down now, or do they wait until we have everything sewn together and then applique? And I really said it depends on you. It depends on the look you want. So we like to, this is how we do it here. You can decide if you want to stitch down now. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But the beauty of waiting, right? We have our applique, we have our 2 patchwork blocks. We sew them together so that they are in a row. We add our borders. We have not stitched any of the applique down. We wait until we add our fusible fleece, which acts as our batting. We have our backing on. Then we go ahead and in the top here, we're adding the colors. And whatever that backing fabric is, we simply put the bobbin and keep the bobbin the same color. We're changing the top thread. But what this does for us is twofold. It not only gives this we're actually doing machine applique and stitching the shapes down because we know we need to do that. This is only heat and bond light. We need to stitch them down. But it also is quilting it at the same time. So if you do, at this stage, decide you want to put that thread in there, there's no problem in doing that. But just remember that later on, you need to come in here and maybe do a stipple. You need to do something to hold all of this together, kind of as your quilt sandwich. So, but that's how we love to do it, is we just kind of wait until our whole top is done with our fusible fleece and our backing. And then we go in and we're not only stitching down here, but we stitch the whole thing. And then we trim up the excess. Fusible fleece, excess backing, and then we put binding on. So that's how we love to do our projects. I just love how kind of embossed they look. So this is a fun one. This series, I absolutely love the smaller runners. I love bigger runners too, but they tend to be more patchwork. I love that there's these tables, right? We all have entryway tables where nothing fits. Now you can have something here with a small table, very sweet for the entryway, something to change out every single month. As I said, kits are the way to go. We put our whole heart in coordinating all these beautiful fabrics. You can pick up the pattern. You would need to be making sure you're picking up some Heat and Bond light, a light source. You'll need to be tracing that and cutting this on your own. But if you're like, oh, life's too short, Jen, I agree with that. Head to the Shabby website right now to pick up your kit. Be sure to pick up your thread set. As you can see, this was the MVP of this particular quilt block, the 4.5 by 8.5 Creative Grid ruler, and you will have so many uses for this ruler well beyond this project. Don't forget that thread set and any notions you might need.